This is Carter Bryant of the Tiger Tackle Football Podcast, and I know a lot of you out there are so sad LSU lost. What are we doing with the offense? And Cameron and da-da-da-da-da. It's crazy, though, because when you really break down this game, you could talk about LSU being outgained by 80 yards and Wisconsin having time of possession for more than 14 minutes. Les Miles didn't have, on a grand scale, on a big picture, didn't have his guys ready to play as an 11.5-point favorite. I know we're all tired of hearing that. We're tired of hearing the same old narrative. But the truth, and it's crazy to think, LSU was in great position, despite playing terribly, to win this football game. And the whole focus has been the final play. So, let's take a deeper look as to why exactly LSU fell apart in the closing moments of the game against Wisconsin. Now, it's weird to say this, but of all things, the biggest reason why LSU did not win this football game was their offensive line. There was too many times during the course of this game where Brandon Harris had to face pressure from free run. No, that's what I like to call it. And basically what that means is a defender getting a clean run with that much blocking to go make a play on the quarterback. Happened throughout. Lack of communication, really poor offensive line and offensive line coaching all around for Miles, Grimes, and Cameron. We can get into later why exactly that may be, but let's first talk about this final play, and where it all broke down was on the left side of the offensive line. So, let's draw it up first. This is a formation, we're only drawing up the left side of the offensive line here because that's what happened. It was protection issues. This is how the play actually started. And let me remind you that it's a 1st and 15 situation LSU is facing after a false start penalty from Clapp in the play before. And what that did was it actually pushed LSU out of the field goal range that ESPN had set for it. Now, once again, that's not a factual field goal range, but still, that's a field goal opportunity that LSU feels comfortable taking. So, where it all started, it's 1st and 15, and LSU gets pushed right outside the 30, right outside their field goal range. So, what's Wisconsin going to do? They're going to throw an exotic blitz at them to try and keep them out of field goal range. Be aggressive. And that's exactly what they did. So pre-snap, this is how the set looks for quarterback Brandon Harris. A slot corner lined up on the receiver, and then the tight end has an outside linebacker on his outside shoulder. And guess what? That outside linebacker is the one who ends up winning the game for Wisconsin. We'll show you why in just a moment. So, the tight end on this play, Colin Jeter, is instructed by the play design to go out on a route. So he does. And theoretically, with the way the defense is set up now, the way that we see it now, the left tackle here, KJ Malone, picks up the outside linebacker, and the defensive tackle is in a 3-tech outside the left guard. Clapp's supposed to pick him up there. But let's just mosey on over here. Here's how the play actually looks pre-snap. Now, I know the camera is not all that great here, but here we go. This is exactly how it's set up. Right before the snap is taken, this is what happens. And once again, the camera is all jacked up because I'm horrible at life. So there you go. That's a little better. The slot corner actually comes in on a blitz. He begins to sink in. Guess what? The tight end here, Colin Jeter, still goes out on his route. And thus, this is where the protection breaks down. The outside linebacker, Beagle, who's on the outside shoulder of the tight end, now moves inside of the tight end shoulder and then takes an even longer route to the quarterback. Swim moves to the inside, and guess what happens? Clapp still comes in on this defensive tackle who's lined up on top of him, and he imposes a double team this guy. And KJ Malone makes the wrong choice, in my opinion, to pick up this slot corner. Now, Malone may or may not have communicated to Clapp to pick up this blitzing linebacker, but nevertheless, You're always taught as an offensive lineman to take care of the pressure to the inside before you pick up pressure to the outside. And this is why this is critical, because on this play, Cameron actually has the perfect play call. Because the first read is out to here, but the first read, Brendan Harris, you'll see him looking in this direction, but then eventually you see him looking to his left, and DJ Chark actually runs an out route, and he is wide open. But what happens is, you will see in just a moment, the outside linebacker gets to Brandon Harris so quickly that he cannot deliver the football. So instead of all that, let's actually see it for ourselves. Leonard Fournette still on the sideline. Boom. So let's go ahead and every little bit of this counts, because this is all happening so fast for an offensive line. Now look, just like how we drew it just a minute ago, Beagle is on the outside shoulder of the tight end. Now notice how well Wisconsin disguises this very late into the play clock. Now you won't be able to see this, but this actually says 11 seconds. So this is so perfectly timed by Wisconsin in a critical juncture of this game. We'll move this thing forward just a little bit. Now watch slowly. Boom. Notice where Beagle is now. He's now straight head up on the tight end with his eye set on KJ Malone. Now KJ Malone looks as if he's trying to communicate with Will Clapp, who has this this defensive tackle line up on his outside shoulder. You then see Ethan Posick look to the left side. He sees some trouble here, and he's trying to make a call. Once again, now 10 seconds in the play clock. Well designed here by Wisconsin. Now Brandon Harris looks to his left side, and he sees that this guy, this slot corner, is in position now to blitz. And look, he's still looking to that left side. He's like, hey, DJ Chark might be open on here. So boom, this is where we're set. Now that Brandon Harris has seen that, his first read should be to Chark. Any quarterback would tell you that. Now once again, quarterback, toughest position to evaluate. Whatever. So here's where we are. Now everyone's looking like they're going to blitz. Now this little bar here is blocking it. Sorry about that. This corner is even showing blitz at the bottom of the screen. Now let's roll this tape. And boom, it's pretty clear he's blitzing. And now look. It looks as if Beagle is going to rush to the outside of KJ Malone's shoulder. That's not what happens. This is brilliant stuff from Beagle to disguise what he's going to do. KJ Malone recognizes this blitz. So, what you're taught as an offensive lineman, as we just mentioned a minute ago, is to always take care of the interior pressure just in case your guard doesn't pick this guy up. Even if this guy runs free, you're going to see in just a second, it is better to let this blitzer run free instead of an interior rusher. Here's why. Because interior rushers, it's simple, geometry, physics, whatever, has a quicker line to the quarterback than this guy. So, look at where we are now. Let's roll it back just a little bit. Now watch this. Beagle does what you call a swim move. He swim moves just to the inside shoulder of Malone, which makes the block difficult for Clapp, who sees it late. Malone chooses his blitzer, who didn't necessarily time his blitz the best, to block instead of Beagle. So, I don't know why they did that. Let's rewind it just a little bit. There we go. Sorry about that. Right there. Now watch. Boom. Beagle has a clear run. Malone chooses this. But look at what Cameron has here. The perfect set. What's the best receiver to throw to on the blitz? The one that is running a route from the direction of the blitz. So, the wide open receiver, the right target here, is Chark. But even after Brandon Harris sees that there's going to be a blitz coming from this side, he still looks to the right side of the formation. But still, he progresses and eventually goes to Chark. The problem is Beagle is going to get there too fast. As you see here, boom. Now, Beagle's right there, and this is where it gets tough. Some quarterbacks have the ability to know that Chark is going to be wide open in this situation when there's a blitzer coming. So, you can argue Brandon Harris, before giving ground, could have delivered this football and just took a vicious hit from Beagle right on time, right there. It would have been a tough throw. Nevertheless, the main point from this play is that if Malone blocks Beagle, the outside linebacker, instead of the blitzing outside corner, this is an easy completion. Brandon Harris, as you see, you could see it briefly here. He began to look to the left side of the formation, and then right when he saw the left side of the formation, he sees a blitzer, or a rusher, running right at him. So, let's roll it again. And Brandon Harris decides to make an interesting decision here, and it's one that you see often from mobile quarterbacks, or just quarterbacks in general. It's the spinning pirouette from a rusher on the blind side. Russell Wilson's the best at it. Greg Ward Jr. against Oklahoma had a huge play doing this exact move. And it's a dangerous move because you got to give so much ground. And if you get sacked, that's basically the end of the ball game. That's a 10 or 15-yard loss. But rarely does a rusher even get a piece of connection on the quarterback. Now watch. Look at that. Beagle does a great job of at least tripping up Brandon Harris. And once again, Harris sees Chark open, but instead of delivering the football, the pressure was there too often. So now, what you have to understand, when you do that spinning pirouette on out, everything changes. The distance that this throw has to go changes. The timing of the entire play changes. Great mobile quarterbacks know that, and they improvise. They don't just stick with throwing there. And that's the big problem with Brandon Harris. He predetermines where he's going to go with the football. So now, a ticking time bomb's in his head. Oh yeah, TJ Chark's going to be wide open. And this is how you know this is, and you can't really say you know what he's thinking, but, boom. Look at what Brandon Harris does. Big mistake here. Right when getting almost tripped up, he's already cocking, ready to throw the football to DJ Chark on this out route, who right here, if you see it, if you look at it from Brandon Harris's viewpoint, Chark is wide open. But, as you're taught as a receiver and a quarterback, once the play breaks down, you're supposed to break off your route. And DJ Chark decides to run a deep route. And Brandon Harris sees that, but he has already made his decision to throw the football. So he changes his mind midway through the throw. And thus, as DJ Chark is running this way, Brandon Harris is like, oh crap. So he redirects his throw. Thus, interception. That's why it was a terrible throw to end the game. There you go. It's that simple. Hold on, I'm dark as night in this. Put some light on. There you go. See me a little bit better? There you go. So that's why that play broke down the way it did. Was that by a book definition? No, there's probably people out there to better explain that. But basically, that was a protection error that ended up costing LSU the football game. Once again, KJ Malone or whoever, if Beagle was blocked just for a second there, Brandon Harris would see that open route to Chark. We would like to think he would have delivered that football on an out route. Chark catches it. He's an explosive player. He could have made a man miss and ran in for a touchdown, or he runs out of bounds. But because there was a protection error, that cost LSU the football game. Big thanks to KTBS 3. This past Saturday, they had me on to break down the game afterwards. I deeply appreciate doing live TV with Alex Anderson, Tatum Everett, and the crew. And don't forget, go to iTunes or to SoundCloud or to Stitcher. Download the Tiger Tackle Football Podcast. We'll talk about this with T-Bob Hebert, former LSU offensive lineman. There's so many things I want to get into with him about. There's this idea that all 9 of the coaches on the side of the field, he talked about it during the last pod. It is really tough to make adjustments on the side of the from the field compared to in the booth. And to have all of your assistant coaches on the sideline, I don't know, it's interesting. And T-Bob had a very cool anecdote about that in our last podcast. You can go listen to that. And then we'll have a new one up this week. So make sure you download that podcast. Follow me on Twitter, @CarterThePower. That's Snapchat and Instagram. And until then, we'll talk to you soon.